I'm Mrs. Higbee, and I'm reading Chapter 7, Into the Laboratory. After her first steps into the laboratory, Teresa gasped out loud. Whoa, I can't believe it. She hadn't expected the shopping mall to look as it once had, but she certainly didn't think Dr. Flax would have transformed it into this. Flax Industries was like no laboratory she had seen in books or movies. This was no sterile, artificial stainless steel environment with computer screens on every wall. There were no scientists in white coats peering into microscopes, no fluorescent lights, no polished floors. There weren't even any chairs and tables. Instead, there was only, Teresa inhaled deeply to smell it, life. Flowers blossomed in every corner. Purple wisteria bloomed on vines along the upper story guardrail. Pink azaleas had overtaken the toddlers' bouncy rides. Red bougainvillea flowers covered the kiosks where sales clerks used to sell cell phones, covers, and perfume. White and yellow roses sprang from pots placed in every available corner. Where there weren't flowers, there were gardens of fruits and vegetables. Well-tended rows of watermelon, tomatoes, onions, carrots, cabbages stretched down the middle of the walkways, and lemon and lime trees marched along either side. Teresa had never been in a garden so full and lush. She nearly forgot she was indoors. She even felt the warmth of the sunlight. When she looked up, she saw that Dr. Flax had expanded the former skylights. There were more skylights than ceilings now, with solar panels in between the panes. Sparrows flew around her head, and she even heard the distant rapid hammering of a woodpecker. John and Ashley were equally awestruck, looking in every direction, trying to make sense of the place. Was this really the shopping mall they had known before? Only the enormous stone fountain remained, but now it was covered in moss and vines. Water no longer sprayed up to the ceiling, and the basin below had been transformed from a clear pool where customers once tossed coins into a dark green pond full of lily pads, frogs, and algae. There was even a duck missing an eye paddling happily in a circle. 2 escalators still crisscrossed behind the fountain, but they were no longer running. One of them had been rebuilt into a ramp. Ivies and green leaves and small white flowers curled around and up the handrails, and surrounding them on all sides was the sound of rushing water. Is there a waterfall in here? Teresa asked Miss Curry with wonder. Yes, Miss Brown. The good doctor has filled the walls and the floor below with pipes of water that are constantly moving. This brilliant design cools the building in the summer and captures heat during the winter. The water moves through so many natural purifiers, you can open any of the taps you see in the walls to get a refreshing drink from the cleanest water you've ever tasted. John immediately ran to the nearest tap, put his mouth under it, and turned it on so the water poured all over his face. She's right. This water is crystal clear and ice cold. You're embarrassing yourself, Ashley scolded, but John kept on drinking. Ashley knelt at the fountain's basin to admire all the different species of algae there. These specimens are so beautiful, she said. I love how bright and red they are. Miss Curry tapped her pen on her clipboard impatiently. Yes. The doctor is quite an accomplished psychologist. We house 216 different types of red algae here, all of which are edible. Ashley perked up. Dr. Flax collects algae? I can't wait to show him mine in more detail. Miss Curry smirked at her condescendingly. Your species of blue-green pond scum is hardly unique, Miss Dean. Your second place, spirulina, is a commonplace and frequently found off the coast of the Florida Keys. I imagine you collected yours while on vacation with your arrogant parents. John started laughing, spitting out a mouthful of water. Ashley turned away, crushed. Teresa couldn't understand why Miss Curie had to be so mean. Her father had taught her that it was rude to use such insulting words like arrogant, especially when applied to people you had just met. She stepped up to Ashley carefully. I bet Dr. Flax hasn't made spirulina tortillas like yours, though. It's one thing to collect algae, but it takes talent to make them into real food. I think your tortillas taste as good as any I've ever had. You're a very good chef. Ashley turned angrily on her. I'm a psychologist, not a chef. We have an assortment of condiments available in our entirely vegan kitchen if you would like to add a bit more flavor to your algae dishes so that they are tolerable. Teresa jumped at the voice. Standing right behind her was a young man with a piercing golden eyes, black hair gelled and sharply parted. He was wearing a dark blue suit with an even darker tie, plus an unusual fox leather apron with the imprint of a pineapple on the front. Flax was stamped across the top of it, and a whole assortment of tools stuck out of the pockets. He didn't seem to care that he had startled Teresa. He bent down with his hands behind his back to study her spider. This machine could prove useful, he said, but he didn't explain any further. He looked briefly into Ashley's aquarium, but didn't acknowledge Ashley herself, who stood up a little straighter, eager to answer any question he might have. Then the young man took a look at John's bubble maker. Why the obsession with bubbles, he sneered. John shrugged. I don't know, I just love them. They're perfect spheres formed in nature, for one thing. Why do you put so much gel in your hair? It makes you look like you're made of plastic. Sorry. Why are you so rude? The man snapped back. Are you an inventor here too? Teresa asked. He's not an inventor of anything, Miss Curie answered before he could. The young gentleman gave her a menacing look and straightened his tie and apron. My name is Zachary Flax. I'm the doctor's nephew and protege. You're not anyone's protege either, Miss Curie said impatiently as ever. Where is Dr. Flax? Is he all right? He hasn't texted me all morning. He left without telling me where he was going again. We can't afford to have another accident on the premises. Dr. Flax's safety is paramount. I'm quite all right, Marie. You need not fret, although I always appreciate your concern for my welfare. They all turned to see Dr. Flax walking briskly toward them from the eastern end of the laboratory. He was once again wearing boots covered in black pluff mud and carrying what looked like a fencing mask with electronic enhancements. Miss Curie immediately started flying around the doctor like Mercury in orbit, hot and fast and buzzing with questions. How good to see you, doctor. Are you okay? Will you be going out again this morning? Can I send these children home? They really are dangerous little creatures. They will only impede my ability to protect you. Dangerous little creatures? Teresa didn't want to be perceived like that or be a guest in a laboratory where she wasn't wanted. Her father certainly wouldn't mind if he turned around and walked home right now. Ashley perked right up and pretended like Marie Curie hadn't said a word. It's a real honor to be here, Dr. Flax, she said. I've always been the best student in my class, so I know I'll be the best student here as well. John rolled his eyes clear to the ceiling. But Dr. Flax grinned and bowed quite formally before them all. No, Miss Dean, it is indeed my honor to have the three of you here. We're going to accomplish so much this summer. And Marie, you need not worry your little robot head about these young scientists causing any trouble. You're doing an excellent job fulfilling your programming. Marie Curie is a robot too? No way, John shouted. Miss Curie seemed rather embarrassed by the comment. She stopped tapping her pen and circled the doctor. When she came to a halt, her skirt fluttered just enough for Teresa to see that Miss Curie's ankles did not end in shoes or even feet, but a single silver ball. Teresa tried not to stare. She didn't want to be rude, but Miss Curie was a robot. Do you like your laboratories? The doctor asked enthusiastically. I ordered the furnishings specifically for each of you. What? Her own personal laboratory? Teresa exchanged excited looks with John and even Ashley. I have yet to show them their labs, Uncle Neil, Zachary said wearily. He seemed like a man desperately in need of a nap. Miss Curry started tapping her pen again. That's Dr. Uncle Neil to you, Zach. Zachary pushed her on the forehead with 2 fingers, causing her to roll backward. Dr. Uncle is not proper English, Marie. Maybe you're malfunctioning, just like poor Thomas. Zachary, Marie, please, the doctor said, as if he had heard these 2 bicker too many times before. Let us be courteous in front of our guests. Yes, my new friends, you will each have a laboratory of your own equipped with everything you need to let your imagination soar. Perhaps you will even build something worthy of being included in next year's Flax Invention for a Better World catalog. Ashley side-eyed Teresa for a split second. But Teresa knew that looked well enough from every competitive kid she had ever encountered in school. The I'm going to crush you and let you know about it look. But Teresa didn't want to crush anyone. Weren't they on the same team? Each day you'll arrive at 9, Dr. Flax continued. Please eat a good breakfast before you arrive because you'll promptly begin working in your laboratories. The morning has been scientifically proven to be the most productive time of the day. So I want you 3 to have that time to yourselves to learn, to explore, to create. Then at noon, my nephew will provide you a delicious and healthy salad he's made himself. Salad construction really is his greatest talent. At this compliment, Zachary let out the longest rumbling groan she had ever heard. It was really quite uncalled for and seemed like a sound a disobedient child would make. But the doctor ignored it as if this too was a frequent occurrence. After lunch, we will have a group discussion about environmental science that will hopefully prove useful to all of us. After that, there will be more time to work in your laboratories. Then at 5 o'clock, you'll return home where I hope you'll get a good night's rest. A lot can be accomplished while dreaming, you know. Does that schedule suit everyone? The schedule suited Teresa just fine. She couldn't believe her luck. Mornings of pure unsupervised inventing and afternoon discussion with the great Dr. Flax. What could be better? So, Zachary, if you will kindly show our new colleagues to their laboratories, I must resume my research. I must resume my search for the lost member of our family. Our sweet Tommy has gotten some bad ideas in his head and is hiding himself from us. But have no fear, I've invented just the tool to find him. Dr. Flax raised the futuristic fencing mask. He also removed a pair of golden gloves from one of his many overall pockets. This sensory amplifier has proven useful on more than one occasion. It will enhance my vision 100 times. My hearing will be amplified as much as I can bear. These gloves will allow me to sense movement when I put my hands in the mud or the water, and even my sense of smell will be heightened, although I'm not certain Tommy has any discernible odor. What about taste? John asked. Well, the amplifier does not increase the potency of the human taste buds at present, and I'm not sure what I could taste that would lead me to one undoubtedly very lonely and confused robot. But for a future model, your suggestion is a good one, Mr. Cooper. Is this hunt really necessary? Marie Curie said anxiously. Thomas is probably gone for good. Maybe we should accept that he's had an unfortunate fate. But we all saw him this morning, Ashley interrupted. You almost stuck him with a needle, and then he ran off in the pineapple fields. Miss Curry whipped around on her rolling ball with murder in her electric eyes. Why don't you keep your smug little mouth shut, Miss Dean? Yes, Miss Dean, Zachary agreed haughtily. You are quite out of order. What? Dr. Flax gasped, completely taken aback. Can this be true, Marie? Why wouldn't you have informed me immediately? I've been searching the marsh since sunrise, and you knew he was in our front yard all this time. I simply don't understand your resentment toward your own brother. I never programmed you with the emotion of jealousy, and yet you exhibit all the qualities of an envious and spiteful younger sibling. If valuable time wasn't being lost, I'm afraid we'd have to have a serious examination of your central processing unit. So it was Marie who Thomas considered a sister. She was the one Thomas had expressed such concern for last night. And yet, she had chased him away this morning and told him never to come back. Miss Curry, if it was possible for a robot, looked embarrassed and tried to avoid eye contact with the doctor. But he took her hands in his and held them tight. Marie, you will be joining me in the pineapple fields. Perhaps this will be the morning that we can reunite my children and iron out any grievances you two may have. Then finally, I can get back to my special project. Dr. Flax turned to Teresa, Ashley, and John. My apologies, friends. Let's not allow this family spat to delay you three. Zachary, if you please, show them to their laboratories. I can't wait to hear what you all think of them. Yes, Uncle, Zachary sighed, already exhausted by the task. As he walked up the ramp, waving for them to follow, John whispered excitedly to Teresa, Isn't this crazy? I bet Dr. Flax and his nephew are robots too. She would have never thought such a thing, but now Teresa really did wonder.